All right, let's talk some NFL draft. We are 10 days from the NFL draft. Everybody's got questions about the first round, the second round, quarterbacks, so on and so forth, where the Pittsburgh Steelers are headed, what their top options are, what their worst options are, when they're going to make this, when they're going to select this position, in what round, so on and so forth. Quarterback's the big one, and everybody has questions and debates about, is Shedeur Sanders a top 21 player? Is Jackson Dart a first-round pick? Is Jalen Milroe a first-round pick, or can he fall all the way to the third? Where's Tyler Shuck going? Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, Kyle McCord, Dylan Gabriel's being tossed out there by everybody, including Tony Dungy, who expects the Pittsburgh Steelers to select him in the first round of the NFL draft. Shout out Tony Dungy, man, because that is a guy who has no idea what's going on in the draft. He just tossed it out there and said, this is the name that I know. Got to give you props for just rolling with the punches, my friend. NFL.com has released their list of prospects, 400 of them, where they anticipate they're going based on speaking with sources across the league that, give you draft grades on everybody from team to team, because that's essentially how this thing's going. Mel Kiper, Todd McShay, Dane Brugler, whoever could sit down and evaluate these guys all day and say they have a third round grade. They have a first round talent, so on and so forth. None of it means anything because the teams decide where guys are going to get drafted. And when it comes to one team, it might be Shedeur Sanders is a top 10 pick. When it comes to another, it might be Shedeur Sanders is a second round pick. And I've heard both sides of that tale in Shedeur Sanders, and I'm sure it's even more drastic with other names. NFL.com speaks to teams across the league, creates these projections, these grades for each player. And at the quarterback position, I think it's very interesting. Now, if the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking to go first round quarterback, Shedeur Sanders is the only one that's guaranteed to have that first round grade and is expected to go in the first round, no matter where it is, whether it's pick number 2, pick number 3, pick number 9, 21, somebody trading back into the first round. He is expected to go off the board on day one. No surprise there. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point are hoping that he falls to them, but at the same time are okay with other options. But things get a little bit tricky once you go deeper. You go into the second round, and those second, third round guys are Tyler Shuck and Jalen Milroe, who both have second or third round projections somewhere in that ballpark there, which could lead you to lean higher late second, early third. Steelers aren't getting there. They pick late third. You probably aren't landing either of those guys. Jackson Dart, who is the biggest mystery in this draft, I think, has a first or a second, which to me tells me the Steelers, like any other team, would have to either trade down or a team would have to trade back into the first round. That's where Jackson Dart is projected to go. That team missed out on Shedeur. Let's go get a quarterback. We have capital. We'll move up after Pittsburgh to wherever and trade with them. Or we'll trade up with Pittsburgh and go with them. Or it's a team like the Cleveland Browns who are saying Jackson Dart with the second pick in the second round seems pretty good to me. Or I believe they have the first pick, in the second round. Seems pretty good to me. That's where that Jackson Dart realm of possibilities is. I think that's out of the realm for the Steelers. I could see the Steelers being interested in Jackson Dart. I definitely could, but I don't think that they view him as that first round need to go get him guy. I think the Steelers would trade back into the second for a guy like Jackson Dart if he was starting to fall. But at that point, they'd also have conversations about Tyler Shuck and Jalen Milroe. Now, if Jackson Dart is there at 21 and Shedeur is gone, I don't think Jackson Dart is the pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They could surprise us. They do that all the time. But me personally, I do not see Jackson Dart's game translating quick enough to the NFL for the Pittsburgh Steelers to say, okay, that's our guy. We're going to go get him. I expect them to go Shedeur Sanders. And then there's a little bit of a gap. They're willing to make a move potentially into the second round for a Jalen Milroe, a Tyler Shuck, a Jackson Dart, but I don't think they view any of them as first-round talents 10 days out from the NFL draft. Again, That's my guess on the situation. It is not what the Pittsburgh Steelers have. Mike Tomlin has not called me and said, hey, this is our draft board. Jackson Dart's ranked 52nd. That's not what this is. This is, if these guys are there, this is where I anticipate the Pittsburgh Steelers having the most interest for names like this. Now, NFL goes on and says Quinn Ewers is a third-round pick, and Kyle McCord, who's a surprising one, is a third or fourth-round pick ahead of Will Howard, who's a fourth or fifth-round pick with Dillon Gabriel. Quinn Ewers is the name to watch there. Remains the name to watch there. I know that everybody is not super high on Quinn Ewers, that nobody sees the Texas quarterback as the gunslinger that's going to come into the NFL and rattle everybody and shock the world and become this dangerous top quarterback in the league. I get it. But the Steelers have been impressed with Quinn Ewers since the NFL Combine. They made sure to go to his pro day. They met with him before his pro day. They look at this dude as a very intelligent football player who, at the same time, overcame a ton because he had the most pressure in the NCAA to keep his job, because the guy behind him is the dude who everybody is already anticipating is the number one pick next year, when he has not played, a 10th of his college career, playing career on the field yet. That he's a backup, and everybody's saying that guy's going to be number one a year from now. That's a ton of pressure on Quinn Ewers. The Steelers were very impressed by that. They were impressed with him at the NFL Combine. They were impressed with him at his pro day. That third round slot, I think, is what is the cherry on top to this situation. Is Quinn Ewers is not anticipated to go higher than the third. Could go later than the third, but if the Steelers find themselves sitting there and they do not make a move and say they go Kenneth Grant, Matthew Golden in the first round, Nicky Muware, whoever in the first round, that third round pick, there might be a couple of running backs, but those running backs might be gone. They could be sitting there with Trey Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, and Caleb Johnson all off the board. At that point, you're waiting on a running back for the fourth round. You might go quarterback in the third. Quinn Ewers seems to be that perfect prospect where he sits there, plus the interest is there from the Steelers, and it doesn't look like they have to move for him, which I don't think they want to move for a quarterback. They will if they need to, but they don't want to. Quinn kind of feels like that guy that fits everything that they're looking for. Not saying that he's a guarantee. I'm just saying that if I had to pick my most likely quarterback to end up in Pittsburgh this offseason, it's Quinn Ewers in the third round. That's where I view him. After that, Will Howard in the fourth or the fifth, maybe. But this shows me that teams are not very high on Will Howard. I was told the Steelers aren't very high on Will Howard. They like Will Howard. They're interested in Will Howard, but they do not view Will Howard as like that guy that's going to grow into a superstar quarterback in the NFL. Just not there. Jalen Milroe is higher on their board. Obviously, Quinn Ewers is higher on their board. You got names possibly like Kyle McCord, who's higher on their board. Tyler Shuck's higher on their board. They're just names that they are willing to go with before Will Howard. He is not my top prospect. And the fact that the NFL as a whole has him as a fourth or a fifth instead of a second or a third shows you exactly that the Steelers align with most of the league when it comes to this situation. Dillon Gabriel in the fourth and the fifth, potentially Riley Leonard in the fifth, name to watch. Name to watch. The Steelers went to Notre Dame. Mike Tomlin named Notre Dame on his prospect quarterback trail 4 or 5 times at this point when speaking. And you got to listen. He mentions Texas. He mentions Ohio State. He mentions Notre Dame. And every time Notre Dame is the consistent one. I would not rule out Riley Leonard for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think it's super likely. I think they go before the fifth round, but I would not rule out Riley Leonard where we stand there. Now, I'll 10 days out, I'll give you my predictions on what the most likely quarterback is, second most likely quarterback is, so on and so forth with Pittsburgh. I'll start with my third most likely quarterback for Pittsburgh, and that is, if I had to guess, Tyler Shuck. I think somebody's going to take a chance on a Jalen Milroe earlier than we all anticipate. I do think Jackson Dart is a end of the first round guy. I think Shedeur Sanders goes 9 to the Saints. I have a hard time believing he falls to Pittsburgh. I think right there, the Steelers could look at it and go, all right, let's go get Tyler Shuck. Let's go get that. I mean, Tyler Shuck's impressive. Scouts love him. If he wasn't 26 years old and played through so many injuries and had to transfer so many times, I think he'd be much higher in this draft. Physicality-wise, ability-wise, he's up there with the best. He's just got a bunch of baggage that comes with him into the NFL. I think he's my third most likely quarterback on the Steelers' radar right now, just because I anticipate him falling a little bit and the Steelers being able to make a move if they want to. Number 2 is Shedeur Sanders. That guy, if he makes it past 9, the Steelers aren't going to take their chances. They're going to say, okay, what's the easiest trade up? Let's go get him. I think that's a possibility. I also think he could fall to 21 with ease. They're going to be monitoring it the whole time. But the second he gets past 9, the Steelers' eyes are going to light up and say, how do you not go get Shedeur Sanders? How do you not take a guy that could be a quarterback immediately and later? Like, how do you not go do that? Again, I don't agree with it. I don't think it's their best option. But I do think that Shedeur Sanders is the second most likely quarterback for the Steelers in this draft. And then my number 1, I just said it, is Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers has been a name that every time I speak to somebody, every time I talk to those within the inner circle of the Steelers, it's Quinn Ewers. And it's shocking to me that it's Quinn Ewers, but it's Quinn Ewers. It's the guy that impressed during the NFL Combine, that I heard from multiple sources from different teams that he had Eli Manning-like qualities in those meetings where he's just that intelligent. He reads the field well. You could tell he's just got it mentally. He's impressed every step of the way. Would not rule him out as an option for Pittsburgh. Would not. And to be honest, I'm going to release a mock draft tomorrow. I'll give you guys a hint on it. He's the 3rd round pick, and he's going to remain the 3rd round pick until something else changes. But for right now, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers go defensive line in the 1st round, Quinn Ewers in the 2nd, and I don't know how you change it. I don't. That's my top 3 quarterback predictions for the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL draft, which again is 10 days away. Massive.